Hey, Dana. Hi, everyone.
Welcome to Hypnosis.
And beyond.
Today we have Dr. Daryll Wharton, a keynote speaker, mindset coach, and hypnotherapist for women. Hi, Dr. Daryll. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hi, thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Well, we are so excited to hear all about the highlights of what brought you to being a guest today on our podcast.
All
Tell
right.
us some highlights from your journey.
Oh my goodness, I have so many highlights. Let me choose the first highlight that most people probably would never guess. That I used to weigh almost 700 pounds, 674 to be exact. And believe it or not, I don't have any disdain or any type of, I don't know, whatever from my former self. I absolutely love her because she's the one who made the decisions, all of the decisions to get me to where I am now. So I appreciate her. So that's my biggest insight in all the little things that I've done to change my life has come from that journey of mine.
Wow, that's you're right. I don't think most people would guess that at all.
Yeah.
Was there a moment that made you make that choice to change that?
It was so many moments. I'm gonna say little tiny moments that led up to that. But the main moment, and let's be clear, I've been heavy since I was 7. I joined Weight Watchers with my mom at the age of 7. And over the course of that time to adulthood, I joined Weight Watchers over 28 times, 27, 28 times, amongst all of these other things that I tried to lose the weight. And I used to pray to God, like, just please don't wake me up. I never thought I had the guts to do anything. So I would just ask, can you just not wake me up? And one particular time, this is my breaking point that I was like, okay, you're not listening to me. You're not paying attention. I've been saying for years, I don't want to be here anymore. And so I decided, okay, just going to do this myself. And I am dating myself. I don't know if you guys remember, but you used to have to sign into the system at the library to get, I'm gonna say internet. I don't even know if it was called internet at that time, but you couldn't just hop on the computer. And I went and I researched how many pills would I need to take so that I did not wake up that next morning. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was married and I was like, I cannot let my husband come home and find me in this house, let alone be embarrassed from having to have extra paramedics to pick me up. And that was my turning point where I realized, okay, I've been asking for years. Since I was little, I started having those ideas of not being here around probably 8 or 9. And
Mm.
I was 28 when I had my surgery. So all through that time, I finally said, God didn't do it. So maybe I'm supposed to be here. Like, let's look at it on the other side of being that heavy,
Mhm.
not having any real health issues beyond arthritis in my knees, and I had a low thyroid, and like mild sleep apnea that I didn't even know I had until I went through the testing for my weight loss surgery. So that made me think, oh, I must be kind of special to be here in that heavy and not have the normal, illnesses or comorbidities that someone that size would have. And also realizing that I always had glimpse of this life, even with being on here with you, being on stage. I'm a performer, being a teacher, being up in the class that is performing all day. I always had those glimpses of my life. And so I decided to put that energy towards that. And so that
Mm.
was my turning point. Now, let me throw you another caveat. My surgery was considered a failed weight loss surgery. Because I only lost about 250 pounds and I got stuck. I know. And it sounds bad.
Wow.
It sounds bad, but it's so good.
Yeah.
Um, I lost about 250 pounds and I stayed like in the low 400s, high 300s for like 10 years. Still feeling miserable, still not happy, but better, but still not happy. And when my youngest daughter got to be about 9, I was like, you need to get back on track. You're very blessed. You've had this surgery. Let's get this going again. And I started by saying one affirmation: I am disciplined and focused. And that is what's tattooed on my wrist. I still live by this affirmation. It has evolved a little bit. I added a little bit more onto it. But that is my journey and my basis of everything that I do in my life, and focusing the energy on I can do whatever I decide to do.
Mhm. I mean, what a wonderful message and outcome to be inspired by your daughter, be inspired by God, be inspired by just your obvious strength and resilience. So, do you feel that this strength and resilience is kind of the cornerstone of what you do now professionally?
Oh my goodness, it is everything. Because what I didn't realize is, yes, I had all these outside influences, right? But what really is the key thing to everything is me. And I didn't realize that, because I often thought that I wasn't worthy of doing anything. I was never going to be, my tagline is be the woman you thought you could never be. Well, I thought that I could never be the person that you're talking to right now. um, and so it is the basis of everything that I do, to tap into me. I don't care what it is. I may ask you for your opinion. I may watch a video. I may read a book. But at the end of the day, I'm always going to turn inward. And that is
Mm.
where all of the meditation and the subconscious work comes to play for me.
I mean, I think that that message of turning to yourself is really something that you don't hear enough in across cultures, across nations. I mean, the three of us are coming. We're all in. I mean, you and I are in the same nation, but Jennifer's in another country, and I'm not sure that that message is really getting out there enough.
Yeah.
How do you stick to listening to that inner voice when there are so many other influences?
Yeah, you're right. Um, I'm gonna say it's confidence. What I realize is, we often think of confidence as, feeling beautiful, you feeling like, you're just as good as everyone else. For me, I like to define confidence as a lack of fear. That means that you're not worried about failing. You're not worried about doing something wrong. You're not worried about, what people are going to say, or what people are, going to think of you differently, and only being in competition with you. I don't strive to be any better than any other human being on this earth. I only strive to be a better me the next day. And so turning within, what I realize is, number one, a lot of our limiting beliefs, we inherited those from somebody else. You hear your mom say, money doesn't grow on trees. Well, guess what? It grows on every tree in my house. You know what I mean? But I would have never thought to even question it. And that's part
Mm,
of my method, is to simply sit down and ask yourself why. Be like quiet, but any limiting belief that pops in, turn inward and just say why. My mother used to tell me, they don't hire fat people. Fat people don't go to college. Fat people don't get married. Well, I have several degrees. I married my high school sweetheart. So I don't think that's true, Mom. It's not true. But I would have never gotten to the point if I wouldn't have said, well, why can't I go to college? And then, you hear your answer, and 9 times out of 10, your first answer that you hear is your answer. Then you ask
mm.
that answer, why? And you keep asking why until you talk yourself out of all of the excuses.
Hmm. I like that. And it's such a very clear sort of system, if you will. So
Yeah.
is that when you work with clients, is that sort of your starting point then?
Yes. Well, first I have an assessment, a limiting like belief phase to see where are you in the limiting beliefs, right? And I created three phases, and with each phase, you get a meditation to listen to. Because some of us are, we just like starting, to figure out, what I'm doing is not working for me. You got to identify, like, okay, yeah, I may believe these things, but they're not servicing me, right? And it's real easy to get into well, this is just how I am. And then I'll ask my clients, well, when did you decide that? Like, when did you decide that I'm too old to go back to school? Or I've been in this job for 25 years. I can't quit and go to another job. Well, when did you actually sit down and decide that for yourself? So I always turn it back to them and keep asking them why, so that because the answers will come, and to teach them you always have to listen to that inner voice, and we all have it. It's the same inner voice when you're driving and you're looking at the car that's in the next lane and you're like, they're gonna cut me off or they want to come over, and you feel it, you feel that energy. That's your proof right there that nobody's crazy, and it's all in your head for sure. And you just need to take the time to really figure it out and really sit and be quiet and listen to your own thoughts.
It almost sounds like you're suggesting you become friends with yourself.
Oh my gosh, that's so good that you say that. Guess what else I had them to do? Give yourself a nickname. And it's so funny. They're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "And I don't want a nickname that somebody's been calling you since you were little, right? I want a new nickname because we all will help somebody else in a minute. We don't need to give the same courtesy to ourselves. So, in my theory is, okay, I'm gonna make it easy for you to care about yourself. We're just gonna give yourself a new name because you'll help her. You'll help her before you help yourself. So let's help her." And so I have them to create this name. And in therapy, well, I'm not a clinical therapist, but in my hypnosis sessions, it's like, yes, I'm here to help so and so, not you, because you and I are going to help so and so together.
And sometimes just that little dissociation or that
Yes.
ability to see yourself in a different light,
Yeah.
maybe that's what a lot of people need, right? To be able to jump up to the next level, or move forward from old limiting beliefs, like you
Yeah.
say.
And use a compassion that, I don't think any of us will walk past someone on the street that's sitting there crying. I think probably almost every single person will stop and say, "Are you okay?" But you don't even ask yourself, are you okay? For you to really answer the question and say, you know what, in this relationship, and I'm just using it as an example, you know what, no, I'm not okay. This isn't working.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's right. So, do you work with groups, or are you mainly one on one? Tell us a little bit about your process.
I'm going to be honest. I love working with groups. I do, have one-on-one hypnosis sessions, and that's in person or virtual. But I love the groups. One of my signature events is called Color and Center. I use like meditative coloring, and the energy in the room and the conversations, because we learn from each other. And I think the main thing that people always leave with through one of my color and center events is, okay, I'm not the only one. I'm not the only one who feels like this. So you don't feel so alone or think that you're this crazy person in the room. Guess what? We're all crazy. Not just you. We all feel this way. And
Mm-hmm.
women, we really really talk But sometimes we don't admit things until we are really together, and you have a space for that to feel safe to say, when I look in the mirror, I don't really like what I see, or I've been working somewhere for 30 years and I cry on the way to work, and just be honest. So I
Hmm.
love doing group work as opposed to one-on-one, because I think the energy, the community is really, really good. And I love the community
Hmm.
of working with groups.
I love that. And it's so cool to create a space where there's interaction as well. Sometimes in groups, there's just sort of the group, right? And everybody has an experience and then they leave. But I love the interactive element.
Yeah, yeah.
You must see a lot of things starting in one place and kind of ending
Oh
really in
my goodness.
another.
The discussions are something else, because once you in a space where you feel safe, I mean, all kinds of stuff comes out. But I love it though, because what better way to be able to really, move forward and start the journey on your next level by being able to reveal and release things that you thought were, I can't say that because people are going to feel this way about me. And again, that's building up that confidence muscle to say that, you know what, I don't care what anybody else think. If I sat around and thought about, going back to my weight issue, if I sat around and thought about what people think, your average person would look at me now and say, oh, well, you're still plus size, you need to lose weight. No, ma'am, I'm a size happy now. I'm I'm good. I
Right.
have my own standards, my own beauty standards, and you can't judge
Hmm.
me by the chapter that you walked in on, because you don't know my journey.
Well, and what is a standard anyway? Really, who's
Exactly.
using your line of questions? Well, why do you have that standard? And
Yeah.
well, why do you have that? And right.
And most times they can't even answer why. I keep probing, of course, but a lot of times they really have to think of an answer. And so, my next statement to them, you've been blocking yourself from being really happy with a belief that you don't even know where it came from or why you have it. So let's release it today. Let's just put it out to pasture. And doesn't mean that a limiting belief won't pop in. I'm human. They still come in. But honey, when I tell you I stop it at the door, it doesn't even come in my house. I stop it right at the door and say, look, no solicitation around here. Don't come back to this house.
It sounds very freeing what you're doing. And also just being aware of who you're around, It's
Yeah,
like when you get to that place, I can relate to the journey that you're talking about, and you are very aware of what you're bringing into your space.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
The circle
so
thing is important. You know how we have our circles around us, right? Um,
yeah,
and look, I snag some edges. I step on a little bit of toes when I say everyone needs to evaluate their circle every couple of months. And your mom, the one, and moms, we care about our kids, and we want them to be safe. And you may be wanting to move out the country, and your mama say, well, you won't have any family there to support you. That's blocking you from what you really want to do. So kindly pick her up real nice and move mom to circle 5. Get her out of the circle that's directly around you, because it's not serving you. And so you have to not be afraid of changing the energy that surrounds you on a day-to-day basis, because it does influence what you do.
right.
Yeah.
And those are really hard choices to make.
Yeah.
And if you know these things when you're younger, it's one thing, but I mean, getting to a certain age, it's still important,
Yeah,
right? To clear your space. I mean,
absolutely. From
the message that so many people is like you have to be there for everybody all the time,
Yeah,
no matter what, right?
and
But
afraid to say no.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't live your life like that. And I always have my clients, when you lay down, of course you thank your universe, whomever your higher power is, thank them for the day, grateful for the day. And then I always say you need to say, I release all energy that does not serve me. Don't take it home with you. Don't go to sleep with it, because you're gonna wake up with it the next day.
So there's a lot of house cleaning going on, mental house
A
cleaning.
lot of help. Yeah, and that's hard to do when you've been doing things a certain way for the longest time, and you always call your childhood best friend since kindergarten, who always talks of, I don't have any money, and she doesn't have any money because she keeps saying I don't have any money, and you're that type of person where you see money coming in all the time, and she doesn't understand, why can't I get any money? And now you're kind of stifled because you're listening to her. No shade to her. Put her in circle 9 with love. You notice the numbers get bigger, because I probably had circle 20. I will put you all the way back, all the way back.
And then do you
Wow.
decide whether people are the circles in flux? Somebody,
Oh yeah,
goes through a tough time, right? And maybe you
yep,
just give them a little space and then they
yes,
can come back.
yeah. And it's so I think people think that they are throwing people that they love away. But what you're doing is you're loving yourself so that you keep your cup full, and you only pour from that overflow. And that first circle has a lot of influence and a lot of impact, and it's really heavy and valuable, because those are the people that you really trust. Those are the people that you should be able to call and say anything that people you would never know. You would not want them to know that you're thinking this. You will feel comfortable saying this to that person. And I have a friend, I move her kind of in and out, because she goes through her moments. And although I have shared things, but you cannot move anybody forward until they are ready, until they are open, and she's not open. So I have to constantly, when she's open, I'm like, girl, come on in. I welcome her, and I'm gonna give her a little bit of coffee and everything. And then when I see, okay, she's falling back into whatever, okay, now it's time to move her to the other circle. And when I say circle, I mean I'm literally visioning circles around me with the people. I'm a firm believer in being specific and being strategic about what you want, and I do scripting. And so I will draw a picture of myself, and I will draw circles around me, and I will put people's names on them. Now, if y'all want to call it witchcraft, then go ahead. I could care less. I am going to protect my energy,
Yeah.
because I spent so much of my life worrying about numbers on a scale. And when I
Mm,
sit and I think about of all the wonderful things about me, I sing, I write, I'm funny, I'm a good wife, I'm a good mom to my girls, and I just reduce myself down to the numbers that I see when I step on a scale. It doesn't make any sense.
that's right.
Yeah, it doesn't make
That's right.
sense. Yeah.
I,
Just, it's funny when you
well,
come through something and then you look back and you think, wow, I
What
really
was
thought
I
that was a
thinking?
big deal, didn't I?
Yeah. What was I thinking? So, you just have to catch it. And I like to always tell my clients too that, it's not going to erase everything. The key is, how soon do you catch it? How soon do you pivot? Because they're always gonna come in. You know what I mean? But you can change who you are. You don't. I don't eat meat. I'm not a person who eats meat. But when I first started, and I would tell people, "Oh, I don't eat meat," and honey, I had a chicken wing the day before. But I told myself, "Oh, I don't eat meat anymore," until I became that person who no longer eats meat. Oh, real simple, but you just have to keep doing it. And in affirmations, we don't like to put negative things in affirmations because your mind sees eat meat. But I feel like in certain circumstances, you have to be dramatic about it. And so that is one affirmation that I do have that's negative. I don't eat meat. I no longer need to use it anymore. It's been 10 years. I have no desire to eat meat. So of course that affirmation should be, I only eat vegetables. When you really trying to structure the right way to do affirmations, but honey, that works for me. No, I don't eat meat. It works for me.
Yeah.
It's like, and so I could talk all day. So I'm like, okay, be quiet and let them ask
Yeah.
the next
Yeah.
question because I'm so excited about what I do because I just want women to know that it is really as simple as what you're thinking. I know it sounds too good to be true, um, but it really is all in your head.
One of the things I just kind of wanted to add to what you're saying, because a lot of what you're bringing up here is very pivotal in my life as well. And I was just saying to my daughter today, when we give and give and give, and to other people, like you said, being very aware of who we're bringing in our circle, there comes a time where it actually shifts, and you give and give, and you start damaging yourself.
Yeah,
And so, if anyone's watching this, it's like that I think is a really big message for me today as well. Is like I'm gonna go looking at that too because it's never too late, right? Because again, yes, your energy is sacred,
yes.
and you really have to protect yourself,
You
you
have
know?
to, yeah. And no is a
Yeah.
complete sentence. I know people have heard that before, but when you get to a point where your confidence is so thick that someone can ask you something and you just say no and you don't add anything on to the back. And I said that I should start recording people's facial expressions because no
It's
one is used to that, especially from a woman. Because, we always say, oh, well, I have this. My thing is, oh, no. And I'm doing something, I'm on to the next.
it,
Yeah. And be okay with not agreeing. Some
yeah,
of my friends
totally.
they think that the hypnosis is sacrilegious. They're like, well, you should be praying to God, and then I say, well, why? Where did you hear that from? And I don't identify as Christian, even though I do pray to God, but it's so many other things that I consider. Like I consider the energy, I consider the universe, I consider if I'm going to walk and I see a tree that I know have been there for 100 years, I'm going to touch that tree. I'm going to touch it and hug it and get some of that energy for it. I'm going to take my shoes off. I'm going to ground with the earth that God made. You know what I mean? So, and it's okay to disagree because I'm not trying to live up to your expectations. That's not on my list. I don't, you know, it's not a part
Yeah.
of who I am to say who did I please, when it is time for me to transition, who did I please? I want to be able to say that I left good things down here. Because I do believe that we come down here to learn things and then we come back. And as of right now, I'm going to ask not to come back. Put me on a different duty. I will clean up. I will be a guardian angel. I need a break. So
Well,
I'm trying.
I hear you, sister.
maybe you'll get to be an ant or a squirrel or a
Yes,
kitty
have a
cat.
little puppy. You know how good dogs have it? Now I want to
Right?
be a cute dog, but yes, they got it good. I am good right now. Yeah, I'm gonna try to make sure I learn everything that I come down here to learn, so I can take a sabbatical and do something else the next time.
I love it. Well, and that brings us to our next segment, which is our silly subconscious question.
Oh, let me get comfortable. Uh oh.
And
Okay.
our question for you today,
Okay.
Dr. Daryl, is if you became friends with an insect and it was going to be your sidekick, what would it be?
Oh my
and
God,
why?
it would be a butterfly. It would be a butterfly because number one, they're beautiful, right? A beautiful butterfly. I mean, with all the colors. And I love that feeling of swinging. That's my childhood. What makes me happy is coloring and swinging. So to me, if my friend could we could fly together and I could get that feeling with my friend, absolutely it would be a butterfly. Because if I were a butterfly, I would be flying like this. Hey, I would just be so, so absolutely a butterfly because they are beautiful and, their lifespan is not long. So they get a short amount of time to learn something or whatever, and then they get to come back possibly as something else. So this 55 years and longer is just too much. It's too It's too much. Now, I absolutely love being here, right? Um, but like I said, I want to learn what I can learn and the idea of being a sidekick with a butterfly to know, like in spurts, because as a teacher, we like to teach skills in short time increments, right?
Mhm.
So, beyond what we've spoken of today, is there anything you'd like to leave our viewers with?
Um, I'm gonna say the main thing is to trust yourself and to know that any, you know, challenge that you're facing, any type of, you know, overwhelm or anything that you're grappling with, turn into yourself and look in the mirror and say, you know what, I know what's best for me. And just sit with yourself so that you can actually listen and connect with that inner power in yourself. Because it really is all in your head, but you need to take the time to sit, be quiet, and actually listen.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much for joining us today
Thank
and
you.
sharing so much wonderful wisdom and suggestions. And we hope you'll come back.
Oh, I will.
And with that, Jen, what do we always say?
Peace out.
Peace out.
Peace.